So you know how I always start, and I always have oh.
Cheers then.
Yeah, that would have been good if I just started by being like, "Wah!" You know, I always start before my intro card, and I chat for a bit, and then intro card.
Yes.
I think you should be like, I'm alive!
I survived!
I'm not yellow anymore.
No, this is a more normal colour for me. Not even there?
Just checking.
You had to check before, didn't you? Hello, Kiwi. No. What's this?
Bye then. Whoops. Hi guys, it's Leanne, and today I have a special guest.
Hello!
She is actually alive. For those of you who are new to the channel, and there are a few, hello. This is Lovely Wife Helen, and Lovely Wife Helen has somewhat been through the mill over the last few months, but I'm pleased to report she's here, and thanks for making me feel great, because whenever I ask for video ideas in the comments box it's just Helen. Helen, 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 Helen. So
here I am.
Here she is. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. Essentially, I am being lazy, and instead of coming up with a list of books to talk to you about, I've made Lovely Wife Helen come up with a list of books to talk to you about instead. You're welcome. So what are we calling this list? We're calling this Lovely Wife Helen's list of
books that are worth a go.
Okay. 5 books that are worth a go.
They are worth a go.
That's fair, actually. When book selling, I would often say that to people. You know, you've done this spiel and you've kind of sold it to them, and then they're like, it's worth a go. It's worth a go.
It might not be your thing, but
it's
worth a try.
Go.
Yeah.
This bodes well. Drum roll. Oh, you're quite good at that. Do it again. Drum roll. Book number 1, and these are, I am assuming these are in no particular order. This is just give all of these a go.
Yeah, these are random books that I happen to like that I'm telling you about.
Okay, so book 1 is
The Potato Factory.
The Potato Factory.
Yes.
By
Bryce Courtney.
Hey! Totally historical fiction.
Yes.
And when is it set?
In olden days, when the period of when...
I should have researched these first.
I told you I needed to look these up first.
We've worked out it is in this time. And it is about...
It's about, mainly about Mary and her struggles. She has a hard life, and every time she kind of tries to better herself, she seems to get knocked down. But then she tries to better herself and become an accountant.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's where her surname Abacus comes in, because she uses an abacus.
Ah, so she didn't even really have a legitimate name.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, okay. She's done well for herself.
She has, but every time, yeah, she goes up, she gets knocked down, but she keeps on trying to go up and up and up. Eventually, she ends up in Australia, and then she builds the potato factory, eventually, which is where the name of the thing comes from.
And can I assume that's something to do, less to do with potatoes, more to do with moonshine?
Yeah, I think that would be fair.
Australian moonshine.
But she's made an enemy of Ike's wife, and they don't like each other, and they try and cause trouble for each other a lot.
So, what would you say your favourite thing about the Potato Factory is then?
The characters, you can really... They're hearty. They have depth.
As in, like, hearty like an old-fashioned stew where you would come to gristly bits eventually and have to spit them out.
Yes. Or chew for a long time.
Okay, so who would you recommend the Potato Factory to, do you think? What kinds of readers? What else might they read?
They might read the kind of thing that goes through generations, because this is a book that carries on, so there are more generations to come.
So so it's a series?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. If you like that kind of epic family drama
Family
thing.
saga.
Yeah.
So historical fiction, family saga. Any other books and if you like this, you will also like
Grimy, crimey type things.
Grimy, crimey. Okay, we'll go for yourself there. Grimy, crimey things, a new category on literary diversions. had... You look very vacant there.
I was trying to think of a term that I was going to need in a moment. That was my thinking face.
Okay, so we've had a grimy, crimey historical fiction. What is book number 2?
It is Retribution Falls.
By?
Chris Wooding?
Well,
I don't know if that's true.
it is.
Hey!
I know stuff, even if you don't know stuff. So Retribution Falls is the first book on this list, I think, that I've actually read. And there's a little bit of a story behind this book, because when I first started BookTube, the group of people who all started at the same time as me were all kind of science fiction, fantasy nuts. And so I ended up getting really exposed to a lot of different stuff that I would never have otherwise. And this was one of those books. It's a steampunk, I think we would say. Was that the term you were looking for? But, oh, I took your glory
I thought
away.
of it.
I'm so sorry. No.
Thwarted.
It was one of those books that I was like, my baby will like this.
Yes, she did.
I will give it to my baby.
Yes.
And she did. But tell them the sad, sad story.
There is a sad, sad story because, as anyone who watches the channel knows, I audiobook all of my books. I don't actually physically read. And so I got the audiobook for Retribution Falls, which is awesome! The narrator...
It really is.
Who
I
is-
will give that. I will
Yeah.
give it to
The narrator is brilliant. You know exactly who they are from their voice and their mannerisms of speaking. That is, that makes sense.
Yes. But
They only did one, not the rest of the series.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
so Retribution Falls is actually about,
A vessel called the Ketty J.
which is an airship.
Yeah,
well,
it's... There is some floating, there's some propulsion involved. It's mainly propulsion. It's a vessel.
Is it in the air?
It's in the air.
Right, it's an airship. Moving on.
And its crew, who are basically smugglers, pirates, doing stuff like that, anything that's a little bit dodgy, some legal stuff occasionally, that kind of thing. And they all seem to be running from something, whether it's themselves or the law or their families or something. And they get themselves into some messes.
They do. Do you know what this one reminds me of actually? This one reminds me of, or rather, A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet reminds me of Retribution
Yes.
Falls, because that came first. They are a bunch of misfits who don't necessarily fit in their individual societies, who all come together and really thrive together. I mean, Retribution Falls is a bit less wholesome, I would say. And everybody doesn't like each other.
No.
There are definitely occasions where like people on the ship butt heads. But it reminds me of that, and it reminds me of kind of like there's this like overarching plot, but in amongst it we've got all these little interpersonal relationships going on, and some of them are skeevy, and some of them are great, and some of them are skeevy, but that's kind of the appeal of
Yeah.
Retribution Falls. I'm tempted to get you to do, I mean don't, but now that I've discovered your like hidden skills at drum rolling, I might use that in future instead of looking for audio clips. So now, now we're on to book 3, which is
Wild Swans,
by,
Jung Chang.
okay, and Wild Swans is what? What kind of genre are we talking?
Oh, this is historical, but it's mainly memoir.
So it's non-fiction.
Yeah.
It's non-fiction. Okay. So is it Jun Chang's memoir, or is it
Yes.
okay?
And her grandmother and her mother. It's
okay.
kind
So
of,
her family history.
Yeah.
Okay. Going
There you
back how far?
it's all based in China, and it is from the time of warlords up to the modern day, going through communism and the Cultural Revolution, and there is some changes going on in China apparently I knew nothing about.
Do you know roughly how long it was on audiobook? Is it like?
It'll be over 30 hours, I would have thought. I'm guessing.
So this is a commitment.
Oh yes,
Okay, but
Yes.
one that you recommend because you're very fond of it, I think.
very fond of it. It was an amazing story, and it was real. And I learnt so much because I had like no idea what was going on in China, and
Yeah.
then you think, oh, this is just ridiculous. But then It's true.
Yeah, I think I feel like the best memoirs for me are memoirs that I feel like are telling me a story.
Yeah.
So memoirs that I feel like I forget that it's not fiction, and then you'll come across a hard bit and you'll be like, ooh, that's not fiction.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's like a whole lot spikier than it was before. But it's very much a feminist memoir, isn't it?
Oh yes.
Because
yes.
it's following her accomplishments of her direct female ascendance. Is that right?
Ascendance.
Hey!
Ascendance. Yeah. I like it. So yeah, from all kind of hardships. Well, it seems I like books about hardships. The weird stuff that goes on, and the twists and turns that happened in the political scheme there. Because at one time, like, you're like high up in the hierarchy, and then you're
Nothing again.
walking in the fields with bare feet, and there seems to be very little in between.
Okay, so now we're on to book number 4. I can count. This one time. And what is book number 4?
Sall.
By?
Mick Kitson.
So what is Sall about? What genre would we say that Sall is in?
Young adult.
Okay, so is it like modern days?
Yes.
Set now? So young adult contemporary, okay.
Yes.
And is it UK or US?
UK.
That's good.
And in
That's
fact, Scotland.
maybe not so good. Okay. I don't have track record. I don't have a good track record of books set in Scotland, because I tend to find they're often not written by people who have lived or live in Scotland, which I don't think is a necessity, but because of that I find that there's a lot of awkward Wikipedia lifted references where I'm like, oh, that's not really how that word works, but okay. Oh, Outlander was terrible for that. The amount of times, because I tried to listen to Outlander on audiobook, and the amount of times where she uses like 2 particular phrases where I was just like, but it's not what it means! He wouldn't ever say that! No Scottish person who's ever lived has ever said that! So yeah, I don't have a good track record, so I'm hoping that this is going to be something that will recommend itself
Well,
to me.
to my ear, it sounded authentic.
Okay, so Helen's an import. Clearly, Helen is English. I've allowed her to stay here. And after Brexit, you're lucky you're married to me, bitch, because you might not get to stay otherwise. We might deport you. So you're an import, but it sounds good to you, so
Yes.
I'll go with that. And it is about what?
It's about Sall, who wants to protect her young sister from a man in their life, and takes a drastic decision and decides to run away. And she prepares for this for a long time beforehand, getting up supplies, reading SAS books.
Very you.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Making a plan, and yeah.
Executing said plan?
Executing is a good word, yes.
Oh, this is definitely making me interested in the book. Okay, so would it be fair to say that to your experience, to your personal experience, you felt like that this Sall had an authentic voice?
Yeah, I have survived sexual abuse, so yes, it felt very real.
So it felt like her voice was authentic as somebody who would have gone through that?
Yes, yeah, that sounds fair.
I feel like more and more YA books that I am picking up in the contemporary genre deal with like really hard hitting things like sexual abuse, especially like in the family and stuff. But I often find that there's a distinct disconnect between survivors writing books like that and authors who are writing books about that but have not necessarily been through it. And obviously I don't know whether the author has been through it himself or not, but then there's also the thing for me where I'm thinking like, okay, so it is a guy writing about a young... Rude cat! It is a guy writing about a young girl, and so like would that be more or less authentic? But I find it really interesting that you thought no, it was right on the money.
It felt very like real,
like memoir-y.
yeah. It's really good. I didn't know it was a bloke that wrote it. When I read it, it felt like very genuine.
That's good.
So,
I like that. So what would I mean, it's obviously a difficult book to ask that question, I guess, but what would be your favourite part of that book, do you think?
The younger sister. She's a charmer.
She's the kind of kid that we would want if we had kids.
She's the kind of kid that I want to keep on a 10-foot pard pole away from me. She's a little nightmare.
Definitely our kid then. Okay, so we're on to book number 5. Have you saved the best for last?
It's a good book, yes. Red Sister.
By
Mark Lawrence.
Ooh, I'm so proud of you. Check you out. And what genre is Red Sister?
Fantasy.
So I cheated, I knew that. I'm actually like quite excited to read Red Sister at some point. Would you like to tell us about it?
It's about one particular character, Nonna, who finds herself, again, in difficult circumstances. Theme here.
Yeah, we don't read any cheery books in this house. If you want cheery books, leave this channel and go somewhere else. I can recommend Chelsea Dowling. She's wonderful. She reads lots of happy books. Not so much here.
And she's plucked from the hangman's gallows.
Ooh.
And has a choice of staying there and dying, or going with the sisters and being trained.
Ooh, this is giving me Nevernight vibes.
Mhm.
Would that be accurate?
Oh, yes.
Okay, and so are we talking the sisters are, I'm guessing, are they assassins?
Right, yes.
Are they political assassins or are they assassins for hire? Are they like, who's in charge of the sisters?
Good point.
That's
political, I would have thought, yeah.
Okay,
Political
I was going to say, is that a spoiler or you just didn't remember?
Bit of both.
Okay. This is what I do every day. This is how I live my life every day. Are you making that up or you just not remember?
Yeah.
What would you say your favourite thing about Red Sister was?
Well, I like the training. I love books about training people and their development. So that was my favourite bit, seeing her progression through her training.
So is this a trilogy or a series, do you know?
Trilogy.
A trilogy, okay. And you've only read the first
All
one?
3.
Oh, wow!
I think.
So does it follow her whole life?
Yeah.
No? Oh, okay. Oh. Is there a magic system in this book? Or this series? Is there like...
Yes, there is. Yeah,
Okay, so
a type of.
does she have the magic or is it like...
It's like some people have special powers.
Oh, okay, so a bit kind of like X-Men-ish, where like some
Yeah.
people are born with a
Yes.
difference. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Right, so who, in conclusion, would you recommend this book to?
Fantasy readers in general.
Anybody who liked His Fair Assassin by Robin LeFevers? You haven't read that series yet.
No.
You need to read that series.
See, I was looking blank thinking, I don't remember that
I
one.
know.
But I genuinely don't remember that because I
No.
didn't read it.
But I think you would like that series.
Okay.
Talking about training and training for assassin school, I think you would like that series. That is also kind of quasi-historical fiction and it's YA, but upper end YA. So I think you would really like that one. And also when you were talking about it and you were saying, you know, you like books about training and about like characters learning to do things, it was giving me like Robin Hood vibes.
Yes.
So like
Yeah.
definitely like Fitz learning to potentially use his magic or just potentially not be a dick. I love him, but needs a lot of training not to be a dick. So that actually goes for a lot of characters that we really like, to be perfectly fair. Like, ooh, you need not a dick school. Okay. So did you have fun?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
And okay, so would you consider doing it again?
Yes.
Look, y'all wanted this, right? Y'all asked for this. I provide. Don't say I don't provide. At some point in the future, we will be doing Lovely Wife Helen's top 5 books because you've come up with most of your top 5 favourite books, which is difficult and changes all the time and is subjective. I think it's probably time that I redid my favourite books of all time video. Maybe we can do that as a 2-parter. We'll have my favourite books and then your favourite books.
Okay.
But if there are any other videos that you would like Lovely Wife Helen to do,
I don't
please
do juggling.
It's not that kind of channel, baby. It's not that kind of channel. If there are any other lists of books that you want to hear about, if you want to hear about audiobooks, or if you want us to maybe like disc some books together, we can totally do that.
Oh, I've got one in mind right now.
Save it, hold it in. So as always, if you guys have read any of the books that Lovely Wife Helen has recommended today, then please tell us about it in the comments, especially because I've only read 1 out of 5, which I feel is pretty pathetic actually, considering that we do have a lot of overlap in our reading. We do, but we go wildly different places, but we have a lot of overlap, and I feel like 1 out of 5 is like pretty bad odds. Look at me, like I can count. I've been doing numbers this whole video and I've not got any of them wrong, I think. And if you have any books to recommend to Lovely Wife Helen off the back of her recommendations, please do that, because she reads more books than me and she reads them faster than me, and I hate her a little bit, but she's always looking for something new and I'm always running out of recommendations for her, so please just help a girl out. Help a girl out. I'm trying to think how I end videos. How do I end videos? Bye. See you next time. Au revoir. A bientôt. Is that a thing?
Ciao.
Peace.
Oh dear, we're dragging it now.
So at least when you come onto my channel, it means that there's no stacks of books to pick up and put away after it.
That's good. See, there is bonuses to having me.
There's, well, that's.
That's a different subject.
We're not going to go there. We're not going to go there.